Welcome to High Stakes. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. On this show, I chat with authors about the moments in their stories that change everything, what's at stake, what it costs, and why we can't look away. From thrillers to romance to sci-fi and beyond. Let's get to it. I'm here with author Jaclyn Rodriguez to talk about her new debut adult romantic fantasy or romantasy, A Vow in Vengeance. Welcome to the show, Jaclyn.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Happy to have you. Congratulations on such a gorgeous debut novel. It's not only is it stunning, it's a stunning cover, and I can't wait to see like the final copy because I saw the
Yeah.
sprayed edges on your website
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything. But you've created, it's such a unique tarot magic system. At least it's something that I haven't come across yet. And the story, it has elements that I think fans of Hunger Games and Fourth Wing will really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I loved creating this world. I come from a fantasy background. I grew up with Hunger Games and Game of Thrones, and I was so excited when Fourth Wing came out because I was like, oh, good. Other people really like, like a magical
Yes.
college. So I was actually really thrilled when that came out because I was like, oh, great. I started querying right after that. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that people will hopefully really like it. I loved working with tarot cards. It was something that like I've always been really drawn to. And then when I was trying to come up with something that people could learn along with the characters, it kind of just came back to me. And I was like, oh, I need to pick up a set of tarot cards and see if I can use this as a magic system. And it just felt so easy to incorporate that. So I was really excited to be able to put that in.
Yeah, no, it's great. I really don't know anything about tarot. I've
Yeah.
never had a reading or anything like that. Don't have a deck, although I understand there are many out there that you can choose
Yes.
from. But I was able to follow along with no problem. So I just want to make that clear. You don't have to know anything about tarot to get the magic, but it was just so well done. And the way that you did it was, it didn't feel like what they sometimes call author intrusion, kind of thing. So
Oh,
it flowed with the story really, really well. And so, yeah, you've got this wonderful magic system. There's a lot of action in there for people who love that, a lot of vivid world building. And of course, you have this delicious romantic element in there too. So I'm so, I don't know, I'm just in awe that I told you this off camera
yeah.
before we hit record about, I can't believe that this is your debut published novel. I know you've put in the hard work to get here, but yeah, it's really well done. So congratulations on that. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. We talked about it off camera a bit that, I've been writing since high school, so it's taken a while to get here, but I'm so excited to be able to share about Vengeance in January with the world and early readers have been very excited, so that's been so nice for my little writer heart that's been writing in the shadows for so long. So,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. You have arrived. Well, before we dive further into Vengeance, I'd love to hear more about you and your writing journey, just whatever you would like to share. You told us a little bit, but if there's anything else you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I have been a deep fantasy fan basically my whole life. I was really raised with sitting in front of, the TV and watching Princess Bride and, even things like Batman and stuff like
Hmm.
that had a fantasy element like Tim Burton's. And so, yeah, I really grew up with fantasy, and I've always loved magical things and things that are a little larger than life that make things a little bit extra special. Maybe it's growing up in the desert and not having a lot to look at that we sit there and kind of look out to, the sky and the clouds and our beautiful Arizona sunsets and start imagining different things. So I've loved fantasy. It's been primarily what I grew up reading. I was raised on like Percy Jackson and Hunger Games, and then later Game of Thrones, or Shadow and Bone later too. So yeah, it's just been so exciting to be able to finally get to write this, and entering romance was actually like a really easy thing because I've always written stories that have, a subplot of romance, but not a proper romantasy. And so far, the romantasy fans and the romance community, as you know, are just they're so great, and so they've been so embracing,
Yeah,
and I've really
absolutely.
loved exploring it.
No, that's great. Well, why don't we just jump right in here?
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about this story? And I always leave it to the author so I don't do any inadvertent spoilers.
Yeah, so A Vow in Vengeance follows our main character, Rune, and she is a mortal woman who has lost pretty much everything to the immortals that rule the realm. Every year they host this selection where 100 mortals are taken from the lands and no one ever sees or hears from them again. And for Rune, her whole family's been chosen at this point, so she has really nothing to lose. And even though she doesn't know what's on the other side of this selection, she knows that she's either going to find her family or take down as many immortals as she can, trying to get to them. So she gets selected, and then nothing's quite as what she seems or what it seems to be, like what she would think. So she's taken to this tarot card college called the Forge, and the immortals are basically like, hey, learn this tarot magic, and if you don't, it's a life of servitude. And so she is able to draw a card, and everyone's kind of divided up at this college based off of their major arcana card. And the one that chooses rune is the hardest one to wield, which is the world. Only one other person's ever mastered it before, which is Prince Draven, who is a royal pain. He's begrudging roommate of hers and a more reluctant teacher, but they come to a deal so that she can master her card and master her fate.
Yeah, I really love their banter. It was so fun. It had me smiling just like the biggest smile at times, and that's hard to do. It's hard to have
Yeah,
a story like this that has a lot of intense parts to it, and then have a romance element, and then just have this kind of fun side to these characters so that we can, get to know them and love them in a different way. And then even just their group of friends and things like that that they kind of pull to to themselves, and it all worked really, really well. So I thought that was great. You had mentioned a little bit about the selection and things like that. And of course, with any type of fantasy or romance, you're going to have high stakes in that way, right?
yeah,
The love or the fate of the realm,
yeah,
those things are all high stakes. But what I'm curious about, what I'd love to dive more deeply into this show, is the I guess just what's a little bit more beneath the surface. What's on the line for Rune that would be more personal for her if she fails? Do you know what I mean? What would be the stakes
yeah.
for her? Yeah.
And I like that about romantasy because, like you said, with fantasy, there's a lot of high stakes, but with romance, it's personal stakes, right? And it's one of the reasons
Yeah.
that we care so deeply about these main characters is because they have a lot of personal stakes on the line. We care about them as a person. And for Rune, you know, she's a pretty angry character, right? Like she has everyone that she's loved has either been taken from her or they've died or have betrayed her.
Yeah.
So she comes in very angry. I mean, A Vow in Vengeance kind of makes you feel like the person
Yes.
coming in is a little bit angry.
Yeah.
And she's kind of ready to burn down the world. And I think in and romance is written by and for women primarily. And I think just as women, it's kind of frowned upon to feel that anger, to like we're taught to kind of feel shame for anger. We're supposed to be passive
Mhm.
and kind and be forgiving even if something's unforgivable.
Yeah.
But for me, anger has always been a response to being hurt by wounds, and it's our sense of justice for our past selves, and it's responding and coming out. And for her, this big stake for her is kind of learning to trust people again, right? And to acknowledge the pain that she's had, but also be willing to find people worthy of healing with. And Draven's like this twin fire, he's a mirror of a lot of her trauma and pain. And I think that her big stakes is, can I trust someone again? Can I love someone again? Um, and am I willing to risk that, knowing what kind
Mhm.
of pain can come after. So she has a lot of underlying stakes with that and opening up, which can be intense. It can be just as big as saving the realm as saving yourself.
Right. Yeah. And if she fails, her family
Mhm.
who, she's looking for her family too. And if
Yeah.
she fails, she doesn't find her family on
Yeah.
top of that too. So it's like you have this layer upon layer
Yeah.
of these incredible stakes that she's up against. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it gets very intense you have some wonderful twisty things in there that I want to really talk about, but I know that I can't.
I know.
Uh,
They're so fun to talk about too. I've gotten
yeah,
many an unhinged DM saying, just my name in all caps, it's
yeah,
just like, I
yeah,
got to the
right.
end.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
I'm
yeah.
like, sorry.
Yeah.
So,
What do you feel might have been the hardest part about writing this book, this particular story?
yeah, I feel like I have a lot of similarities to Rune in some ways. And so I think that sometimes when a character, as you know, as a writer, if they get a little too close, that can be a little hard. You kind of have to look at yourself too. And so I think that could be pretty hard. Obviously, some of the things that she goes through um, kind of mirrored some things I was going through when I was writing it. So those were a little bit difficult to face. But overall, um, I think the story really flowed out of me. It was really one that I wanted to tell. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was lucky in that a lot of it came relatively well. It came easily.
Yeah.
Most of it.
That's great. Did you find that after having written it, did did it provide like a almost like a catharsis, or was it cathartic for
Yes.
you at the
Oh
end of it?
yeah.
Hard to write, but
Yeah.
felt good at the
Oh, for
end,
sure.
maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that a lot of those hard parts to write for, when you're putting your character through it and it's something that you maybe have been through something similar, um,
Hmm.
it can hurt. It can hurt. You want to avoid it when you're writing it, and then when you get to it, it feels better afterwards. Like you said, it's very cathartic, it's very healing, it's very you know, emotionally a point of growth for both of you and the character. So it's
Yeah.
it's
Well, that's
it's
great.
hard, but we get through it, and I think we're better for it.
No, that's wonderful. Well, and it also it enriches, I guess maybe
Yeah.
might be a word. It feels authentic. It gives it
Yeah.
a level of authenticity too. So I think that's all good. It's a win-win for
Yeah.
everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Well,
painful, but
as
you'll be better for it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, get
Yeah.
past the pain, right? Well, as a debut novelist, you're
Yeah.
exposed to so many firsts, and it's going to be one of
Yeah.
those times in your career that I hate to say this, that you might not ever be able to replicate, you know?
Yeah.
You got your first cover, your first editorial
Yeah.
letter, your first book review, all these
Yeah.
fun things, launch party, all those types of things. And I was wondering if you, and I know this might be hard to answer, but what was your favorite first, or which one made you the most emotional, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's so many things. I mean, I feel like I've spent much of my debut year crying, but happy tears, because
Yes,
I've just been
good.
so many great new things. But I think that getting those like first early reader reactions where it's someone that like you don't know, like does not know
Right.
you, there's no reason for them to be nice. They're not
Unbiased,
they're
yes.
unbiased, and when my book when the arc first got uploaded, the formatting was really off, and some people still read it and still gave it a really, really nice reviews,
Oh, great.
even with this like awkward formatting. So getting those first reviews from readers, it felt like, oh wow, this is it. Like this thing that I've been working towards, and I'm finally getting that feedback that I've so
Yeah.
longed for, and the recognition, being able to not feel like such an imposter. I think every writer feels imposter syndrome at some point, but especially
Sure.
in debut years. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you talk to some writers who have been around for a very long time, sometimes it just doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's part of I don't know, it's part of the whole I don't know if it's career or personal beings. I just
Yeah.
don't know what it is. If it's something personal, if it's just the job that makes you, kind of bananas that way. But
Yeah. Very much so.
Um,
I did take this course once when I was working, which was called the Happiness Project. And it was interesting where it said, like, you need 10 positive interactions to counteract every one negative one. And I
uh,
think that we view ourselves that way quite often as writers, especially for every
yeah,
one bad comment, you need 10 positive things just to balance it out. And I think that
yeah.
that's been something I've found in my life to be true. So I was like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Tracks with writing,
That
absolutely.
tracks, yeah.
Okay. Well, besides reading, what
Yeah.
is your favorite thing to do when you're not writing?
Oh, well, I love reading, but I also really love watching. I watch a lot of TV shows, films, even playing video games. I'm a millennial, so it was like right at
Yeah.
that time, like post Oregon Trail and starting to get Legend of Zelda and things that had stories. Um, and so, pretty much consuming all form of media is really exciting to me. And I also really like something that's very fantasy-esque, which is archery. I have a recurve bow, and we have a
Nice.
range
Yeah.
nearby, and I'm able to go out when it's not 120 degrees and shoot my
Yeah.
bow. So I'm looking forward to that now that it's starting to get nice here. And so yeah, those are my main kind of hobbies is deconstructing TV and going out with my bow and shooting it when I can.
That's amazing. Those, my
Fun.
husband has a recurve and I've
Nice.
tried to pull it and it's like, holy moly, you've
I
got to really build the strength to
You
pull that.
do. I
Yeah.
think that mine's like almost technically like it's like a youth bow. It's like
Okay.
29-pound draw weight. It's
Maybe
much
I should
much
go get one of
easier.
those.
Yeah. I was like I started in an archery, club in college and they had some lower weight bows and I was like this is my bow. I'm gonna take this.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. If I ever think
Yeah.
about going out there with him, I might have to get the child
Yeah, you
the
can't have the
child
51. See, those are too much. Yeah, I can't pull those either.
No, I couldn't do it. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't
Yeah, I
even
can't
pull the
pull them
darn
and
thing
hit
back.
anything anyway. Yeah, definitely
No.
not.
No. Well, what's one thing readers might be surprised to learn about you? Maybe that was it. You have a recurve
Oh,
bow and you
and then
like
I
to
have a
do that,
recurve bow, and I can actually,
yeah?
um, I can actually shoot a bow and arrow. I don't know. That's an interesting question. Like I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a child who is disabled, and I think people are always surprised that, I can find the time to write with having a
Mhm.
child with disabilities, but he's such a sweet kid. I feel like I'm kind of like secretly blessed in that way that he's the
Yeah.
sweetest child in the world. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I got my recurve bow. I've been a stay-at-home mom, which does help me now that he's in
Yeah.
school to be able to write. But yeah, otherwise I'm a pretty pretty open book. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
My
that's
first
great.
my first thing that I went into college for actually wasn't writing though. It was acting, but then I realized I was terrified of being on stage. So I was like, I should write the stories. And now of course I'm doing, meet and greets with fans or, I'll be on stage or something and I'm like, I was trying to avoid that part, but here I am doing it again. So, didn't work out for me as much, but I'm a little more comfortable in my skin now than I was in
Yeah.
college. So.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I had a conversation with Rayanne Thane, and
Mhm.
she had mentioned that she has a disabled child as well, and
Yeah.
she has sustained a 30-year career. She's
Yeah.
his sole caretaker, it sounded like. So,
Yeah.
women, it seems like when they figure it out. They figure out how
Yes, we
to
do.
do it all, right? Yeah,
Yeah. We
absolutely.
figure out a way to balance it, and it doesn't seem like, people be like, how do you do it? And it's like, I don't
Just do
always do
it.
it perfectly, but there's no
Yeah,
choice, you just kind of,
yeah,
especially when you become a parent anyway, no matter the situation, you just kind
yeah,
of have to figure it out. And we do it because we're strong. We're
yeah.
really tough. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, before we go, can you give us a
Yeah.
hint about what's coming up next?
Well, I just turned in draft two of book two, so hopefully
Yay.
sooner than later, we'll follow up with that. And it is a duology, so the main story will be concluded in that. And then I just started just this week because I've been off deadline starting a new project. So we'll
Okay.
see if that has some legs. I wrote
Yeah.
10,000 words in 2 days, so.
Oh my
Who knows?
gosh. Oh my gosh.
So it
Wow.
really
Shake
flowed
out those
out. So
wrists.
yeah, I just really went running, and I was like, I think has some legs. So let's
All
work
right.
on this. Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait. Oh, that's wonderful. All right. Well, folks, be sure to order your copy of A Vow in Vengeance today. I highly recommend it. It's dark academia, I think is what they call it, romantasy. So that's a lot of fun. And then you can learn more about Jaclyn at her website at jaclynrodriguezbooks.com, where you'll also find all of her social media links. Jaclyn, thanks so much for joining me, and congrats again on your debut novel. It was such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for today's high stakes story. Follow the show so the next episode lands right in your feed. And if you enjoyed today's chat, a quick rating or review helps new listeners find us. Visit tracydevlyn.com/podcast for show notes and links to today's amazing guest and their fabulous book. High Stakes is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Until next time, enjoy the adventure, everyone.